Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
One of the biggest men in the NFL is going to the Bengals for one of the biggest draft picks ever sent for a non-quarterback. Dexter Lawrence, welcome to Cincinnati. Also, the Bengals, who scratched and clawed their way into the postseason, just stole game one from the Detroit Pistons, and the Jags could boldly return to the first round of the NFL draft.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
We got a monster blockbuster defensive trade that is going to stick in the AFC North. Dexter Lawrence is headed to the Cincinnati Bengals for the 10th overall selection in the NFL draft, which is now just a couple of days away. James Rapien from Locked On Bengals joins me now. James, there has been a lot of discourse around this trade over the last couple of days. I may or may not have been a part of a lot of it. Why did the Bengals do this?
They did it, Peter, because they've desperately wanted an interior defensive lineman that mattered for years, that could get pass rush, that could get push. And they haven't really had that. They pieced it together during the Super Bowl run with Larry Ogunjobi and BJ Hill alongside DJ Reader, but they haven't had that. And they went out and they got Sheldon Rankins. And last year in the draft, they wanted Walter Nolan, and he didn't fall to them. One pick shy of falling to them at pick 17. And so this was on their to-do list, and there just weren't many defensive tackles available. And suddenly Dexter Lawrence becomes available, and I think they looked around, they looked at the 10th pick, what could potentially be there, and they said, you know what? This is the guy that we've been trying to find. This is the guy that can complete our defensive makeover. And I understand the logic. I'm sure that you're going to have questions about it, about what they gave up and everything behind it. But I understand their logic of, hey, Dexter Lawrence helps round out exactly what we've done this offseason on defense.
Yeah, and you mentioned the offseason makeover. They added Brian Cook, the safety from the Chiefs. Yep. They added Kyle Duggar. They added Jonathan Allen. They added Boye Mafe. So this was not the only move, right? This was part of a pretty expensive offseason spending spree on a defense that was pretty bad last year. And so let's answer that question of value. The 10th overall pick is the highest draft pick used on a non-quarterback since the Randy Moss trade once upon a time. What do you make of the value here?
I saw that, by the way. I saw Randy Moss, and it was like braided Randy Moss. He goes for the 7th pick. And that didn't work out for anyone. It didn't work out for the Raiders or the Vikings. The 7th pick didn't work out, and so took me down memory lane there. For this, I think it's like, all right, well, you just play the scenarios out. Like, does Ruben Bain Jr. make it there on Thursday night? Does Caleb Downs make it there on Thursday night? Do they get a defensive game changer? How many game changers will be, are there, one, in this draft? Two, is it going to be on defense? I've been on like the Jeremiah Love train, and it annoyed some Bengals fans. Others saw it, and I was like, look, if he's there, he's going to be the best player available. And so I think that's it. I think the Bengals knew they needed to address their defense. They knew even with those additions, Jonathan Allen, Boye Mafe, and Brian Cook, people like me said, hey, it's not enough. You got to do more. And they looked around, and suddenly Dexter Lawrence becomes available. And it's this fit that should maximize Allen, that should maximize BJ Hill. And so I think they just said, look, it is worth the risk of giving up this top 10 asset, this top 10 pick that could be Caleb Downs, that could be Ruben Bain Jr., because we know what we're going to get with Dexter Lawrence. And so I think that's probably the discussion that they had. Obviously, the contract is a factor as well.
Let me ask you the question this way, as non-confrontationally as I can think of to
Go
ask
ahead.
it. Why not wait till draft night? Why not wait to see what your options are? Why not wait to see what the other possibilities could be? Understanding it's gonna be tough for another team out there. Like, we got some reporting that other teams were not willing to offer this level of draft capital. The 10th overall pick is a lot. So why not wait and see what you could see if you could get Caleb Downs or Ruben Bain or someone like that?
Well, it's twofold. Well, one, you want to get him in for the physical after what happened in Baltimore. So I think, I do think that that's part of it.
Thanks for spoiling it for everyone else, Ravens.
You know, I do. And I'm sure the Giants, same thing. They wanted to get this done. Did you notice how quickly this came together? Like, it was announced 12 hours later, physical pass, new deal signed.
He's signing the contract by noon the next day.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it should be. So take note, Ravens, who delayed it and did all the things they did. But I look at it, and I do think that the Bengals realized, like, yeah, we've been aggressive in free agency. It's still not enough. We need to find this piece. And maybe there were rumblings that they were in on Max Crosby as well. And the thing is if Max Crosby was going to go for 2 1s, or let's just go to the Dallas offer that was reported, a 1 and a 2, would you rather that, or would you rather give up number 10 for Dexter Lawrence? And I think that is part of it here, is it's like Max Crosby's got injury history. Max Crosby's a defensive end. It's hard to find a nose. There isn't another nose tackle that's as disruptive as Dexter Lawrence. He's 340. He's not 305 like Jeffrey Simmons. Like, this guy is different. And so I think they just said, you know what? These guys don't grow on trees. They don't grow anywhere. He's one of one. Let's go get him. And if it doesn't work out, at least we took the swing. This is, by the way, I don't want to, this is the biggest trade the Bengals have made in franchise history.
Yeah.
By far. And so they're saying, you know what, he's going to bring all of these pieces together and be the difference maker. And so we'll see if he is. If he is, it's well worth it. If he's not, then it was a major swing in the Joe Burrow era, and it's going to be something that we talk about for years and years and years, one way or another.
Stay up to date all year on the Cincinnati Bengals by subscribing to Locked On Bengals on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports today. Coming up, the Magic are on the East, top-seeded Pistons. Before we get to that, the Thunder weren't playing around against the Suns. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters. Every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if you win. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters, whether you're tracking stars, role players, or key moments. It just makes the entire playoff experience that much more engaging from start to finish. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. OKC demolished the Suns in Game 1 of their first round series. And to add insult to injury, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander noted post-game that Phoenix will, get better as the series goes on.
Folks, this was the start of the Thunder's chase for their second straight NBA championship to try to buck the trend in the NBA of parity, where the last 6 champions have failed to make it out of the second round. And Oklahoma City did so with a bang, a blowout of Phoenix, where Phoenix, they got out to a little 5-0 run to start this contest. Lou Dort hit a 3 to settle the waters, and from there, it was all Oklahoma City. The Thunder did a great job all night of funneling shots to Dillon Brooks, guys you do not want the ball in their hands too much if you're Phoenix. They were the ones where the ball found them, and they couldn't resist. They couldn't resist launching horrific shots, mainly Dillon Brooks in that category. Early on, it was Jordan Goodwin as well, who the Thunder were playing off of, but Goodwin left this game with an injury. So the Suns just were frustrated by the officials. They were frustrated by this defense. They could not generate any offense to save their life, even on good ball movement plays where you're thinking, okay, they've swung the ball 3 times. Surely a shot's coming. It's Oklahoma City with a hard, long, fast closeout that disrupts that offensive rhythm.
The Celtics dismantled the 76ers, and that's just because I can't use the phrase that I want to use.
Celtics cruise in Game 1 over the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm John Corrales from the Locked On Celtics podcast. Celtics win this one 23-91. Jason Tatum gets going early. Jaylen Brown takes over in the third quarter, and they hold Tyrese Maxey in check. And all of the things that they were supposed to do to make this an easy game, they protected the ball. 10 turnovers, 3 points off turnovers for the Sixers. For the Celtics, 3 points off turnovers for the Sixers. That's not going to get the job done for them. The Celtics turned right around after that miss, got a steal, got the ball back, hit a three-pointer, then Vucevic hits a three-pointer, and all of a sudden that momentum for Philly is gone. Celtics are off to the races. This could have been a much different game. The Sixers had a chance to cut that lead down to 12 or 11 and maybe force the Celtics timeout, but the Celtics stuck with it. JB made that great play, and they went off. They just made a ton of shots. The Sixers could not generate anything. So easy going in the first game. It's always dangerous after that, but we'll talk about any potential letdowns or whatever the Celtics face in game 2 coming up on the Lockdown Celtics podcast.
Over on the diamond, the Mets losing streak has reached 11 games, the longest since 2004.
Unreal. Unreal is the word to describe what the New York Mets have been to start this season, as they've now tied the 2014 with their 11th straight loss, and this one in just typical Mets fashion. Just holding on to a 1-0 lead because, yes, once again, the offense did absolutely nothing outside of an MJ Melendez home run. They handed it off to Devin Williams after Carlos Mendoza managed his butt off, using every high leverage reliever he has in order to try to win this one. You could tell the pressure that he felt to get this win before they head back home, and Devin Williams was 2 outs away. But old friend Michael Conforto dumped a double into the right field corner that tied the game. And that bad Mets offense I talked about, couldn't get it done in extras, couldn't even get a run across. You deserve to lose at that point. And Craig Kimbrell is the guy who served up the sacrifice fly that won it for the Cubs. They actually scored the run without getting a hit. That's what happens when you can't score a run in the top half, and the Mets have now lost 11 in a row. At some point, this will end. At some point, the Mets will win games, but it is starting to get late early, if it isn't already late for this team, because how do you look at this team right now and think they are anywhere close to one of the best teams in the National League? Nolan McLean will try to turn their fortunes around on Tuesday, as he'll try to make sure it's not an even dozen in a row for the Mets.
And we've got playoff hockey. They're off and running in the NHL, with the Canadiens taking game 1 over the Lightning in OT.
The hockey world got a taste of Juraj Slafkovsky at the Olympics this past winter, and I think they're about to get all they can handle from this 6'4" beast for the Montreal Canadiens, as Montreal drops Tampa Bay by a final score of 4-3 in overtime, thanks to a power play playoff hat trick from Juraj Slafkovsky. It's the first hat trick by a Montreal Canadian in the playoffs since one René Bourque. Hopefully Slafkovsky's career pans out a little bit better than that. Look, this was a really back and forth game from both of these teams, a very evenly matched series. Tampa only got home ice in this series off of the tiebreaker of regulation wins. We should expect this to be a close series, but what I didn't expect was the special teams to play this big of a role in this game. 5 of the 7 goals scored were power play goals, including all 3 of Juraj Slafkovsky's that went in. Montreal, I thought, handled themselves really well. Second period was a little dicey with some of the penalty calls that went against them and the way that Tampa was able to score 2 in 29 seconds. But look, Montreal did what they set out to do. They're the road team in this playoff series. Your goal is to earn a split on the road. Well, they've already secured that, and now they're looking to do a little bit more damage and potentially come home up 2-0 out of Tampa Bay.
Despite a strong showing from Cade Cunningham, game 1 of Magic Pistons was a decisive Orlando victory. Locked On Magic host Philip Rossman-Reich reacted to Orlando's wire-to-wire win over the top seed in the East.
But I have to think objectively on this too. And if you looked at the 82 games of that regular season the Magic had this year, with all the expectations, with all the potential that everyone put on this team, the potential that this team put on themselves, you wouldn't be crazy to say some of the things that I've said. You wouldn't be crazy to have a little bit of doubt, to be a little bit circumspect. As I see Desmond Bain over there, eyeing me, judging me. I'm saying good things, Des. Trust me. I see you, Des. He is over there. You have to trust me on that. This team earned some doubt, but this is a new season. Everybody's 0-0. Yes, the regular season determines who you play in the playoffs, and determines your seeding, and it determines how difficult your path, in theory, will be to the next level, to the next stage, to the next series, to the finals, to the championship, to whatever. It is a new season. It is a brand new season because everybody's 0-0. And what happened over the last, 7 months 8 months, what's happened since September, yes, that is the foundation on which you are building on. That is the foundation that everything sort of springs from. But none of it matters anymore. We're here. We're in Detroit. We're facing the 1 seed, a 60-win team. And all that matters is who gets to 4 first. All that matters is who wins 4 out of 7 games. It doesn't matter what happened in the regular season anymore. So let's wash that out. Because in the last 2 games, the Orlando Magic have proven to us that this is a new season, that this is a brand new team, that this is a team that has found something, found a spark, and they are riding it as far as they can. And we'll see how far they can take it. And a win like tonight's 112-101 victory over the Detroit Pistons is proof of that refresh, is proof of that restart. It is proof that this team is both who we thought they were, because that hasn't gone away. That team that struggled through most of the season, that's still part of who this team is. We can't forget that it's there. But we can also say that this is who this team can be. They are who we thought they were in every sense of that famous Dennis Green quote. And part of who we thought they were, part of who we thought they can be, is this physically hounding defensive team. Is this team that shares and moves the ball, gets guys open, plays this never quit attitude, doesn't blink at the sign of trouble. That's not how the Magic have been for so much of this season. But credit to them. Maybe I gave up. Maybe some of you have given up. I've seen those comments too. They did not give up. And through all the noise, through all the turmoil, through all the heartache, through all the frustration, all they needed was a chance. All they needed was a bit of a restart. A chance to go again. A chance to try again. A chance to get this opportunity. At the end of the day, the Pistons and all their success over the past 6 months, over the past of this regular season, are in the same boat as the Magic. Yes, maybe there's a little bit more confidence. There's a little bit more of swagger. There's a little bit more of, we know we can do this. But they're also 0-0. They're also starting over. And so when the Magic took it to them from the very start, building as much as a 13-point lead in the first quarter, when the Magic made those early threes from Jalen Suggs, when Paolo Banchero got himself going offensively, looking like playoff Paolo, his 11th 20-point game in 13 career playoff games. When all that stuff happened and the Magic were the ones dictating the terms of engagement, dictating how things were going to play out, dictating just the tempo and flow of the game, dictating the lead, playing from ahead is so important. Answering every challenge, building an 11-point lead in the third quarter, giving it away, and then hitting the big shot to keep Detroit from leading. The Pistons never led in this game. Even a 2-0 lead, they never led. And the Magic never backed down. This game looked more like the Magic that we saw throughout last year. A team that maybe has some offensive flaws. They shot 10 for 34 from 3. This is not a great three. This is not going to be a good three-point shooting series. This is not a good three-point shooting game. There's, as we'll talk about tomorrow, still a lot of meat on the bone.
Stay up to date all year on the Orlando Magic by subscribing to Locked On Magic on your favorite podcast app. Coming up, the Jaguars could make a big trade and return to the first round of the 2026 draft. Jaguars are one of 5 teams that doesn't own a first-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Locked On NFL Scouting hosts Kyle Crabb and Joe Marino explore how Jacksonville could trade back up and boldly return to the first round.
I've done a little research on this that will help us address this. So there's 5 teams without a first-round pick: the Falcons, Broncos, Colts, Packers, and Jaguars. The Falcons pick is 48. The Broncos are 62. The Colts are 47. The Packers are 52. And the Jaguars are 56. Now, what's interesting to me about the Jaguars is that while they don't have a first-round pick, they have a lot of draft capital for not having a first-round pick. They own picks 56, 81, 88, 100, and 124. In fact, when you look at the draft capital power rankings, they have the 19th most draft capital right now, which is interesting because that is higher than several teams who do have first-round picks, including the Bucks, Panthers, Bears, 49ers, Commanders, Rams, Chargers, Bills, and Seahawks. They all have first-round picks with less capital than the Jaguars. So while I am going to stop way short of saying that two teams without a first-round pick will pick in the first round, I think if there is a team that will do it, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just might find a prospect that is intangibly rich, that can elevate the ecosystem, and can test the boundaries of football.
And finally, Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson recently went on a podcast and called the Indiana Hoosiers defense simple. And IU defensive coordinator Brian Haynes responded promptly on social media, proudly holding a 38-3 receipt. Simple is an interesting way to describe the D that handed Alabama the most lopsided bowl loss in program history, while eliminating the Crimson Tide to their lowest scoring total in a bowl game since 1960. Haynes responded on socials by calling Simpson's comments adorable and proceeded to rile up Alabama's fan base even more in the reply thread. So yeah, maybe it was simple, just not for the offense. Coming up, the first round of the NBA playoffs rolls forward with some better games, hopefully. We'll see. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.